Hello, friends. Welcome. This is Mindfully Amplified. I'm so happy that you've made it back in this space. And if you are new here, my name is Jasmine Vieliz. And as I said, this is Mindfully Amplified, the space where every episode is a journey of personal growth and cultural exploration, tuning in and turning up the volume of your life and business. So today I have a very special guest. I'm grateful that she has chosen to grace us with her presence at such a really wonderful and exciting time in her life. She's someone that I have the gift and the pleasure of working with on a regular basis. So it's wonderful to actually have the chance to spend some time and share with you all these incredible gifts that she has. So I will first say that Kat has so many incredible parts to her, we'll say, life resume. And the things that stand out to me is that she is an absolutely spectacular, energetic presence, someone that brings joy and so much hope and love into any environment. And she's such a gifted soul at curating experiences. So I will call you, Kat, a sacred disruptor as well, someone who sees the possibilities way beyond what other people could even imagine, and you take action, which is incredible and hard to find in this day. So Kat, I'm so excited to welcome you to this space. This is Kat Harmon with Love the Shit Out of Yourself. And today we're talking about her book, It's Time to Love the Shit Out of Yourself. So welcome, Kat.
Thank you, Jasmine. I am so excited to be here. This is my very first podcast talking about the book. So I'm interested to see what kind of shakes out and what I feel called to share and what you kind of prompt me to share. This is really exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. It's such an honor. I didn't know it was your first discussion around the book. I mean, this is exciting, this season for you. When did you start thinking that you were going to do this type of book? When did this birth in your heart?
Is it 2026 right now? Probably 2023. I had the idea. I've always been a bit of a storyteller. When I was younger, I wrote a lot of fictional stories that I'm pretty sure my mom still has saved. I began this journey when I was coming out of a really extremely challenging place in my life, which honestly got even more challenging after I started writing it. Yeah, it unfolded over the course of, I guess, about 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, I didn't know if it was ever going to be a thing. I'll be really honest with you. I didn't tell a lot of people I was writing it. I kept it on my phone. I would talk into my phone, then I'd go back and read it and make little edits, and the grammar was terrible. And it was an interesting journey that I felt like was this little secret, this dirty little secret that I had from everybody, because I was really afraid that I wasn't going to finish it because it was coming from such a vulnerable place. But I did, and now we're here.
Exactly. I hear that. And the beauty in the process of I'm just going to put this on my phone and who knows what's going to happen with it.
Yeah.
And it's going to do something, even if it's just helping me process my journey, which is, I think, in itself a really beautiful thing, right? It's like the gift of, we'll say, real, full on, going all head first into journaling your life experience, which is powerful on so many levels. So when you think about the process, how did you feel as you were starting to do this documenting? Did it feel certain that you were ready to let people into this, or when did it start to change for you?
No. Yeah. I don't even think I told my husband for a year into it that I was even doing it. But I will say the journey of writing it was really cool because, I just kind of I spitballed things. I started, something would show up and I would have this whole chapter idea and I would just talk it into my phone, then I'd go back and change things. So it was such a inquiry into myself and my life because I had to keep going over the same stories, over the same chapters, and going deeper within myself and really a deeper understanding of what was actually happening at those points in my life. Maybe not even a deeper understanding, maybe even a wider perspective of what was actually happening. So I feel like writing this book was like going to university or going to college on myself. Like it was such a learning experience, which was interesting because here I am. I'm like, I'm going to write this book because I feel like I know all these things. And then the more I went back over the things, the more I understood about what the lessons were that I was actually trying to share. And really how deep they went back through my whole life story, the patterning, the looping, the lessons, the celebrations. Like it was a really cool experience. Even I'll be honest with you. I published, well, I did like the author publishing of the book, and I got 2 copies of it. And my husband and I went on a vacation, and we read it from cover to cover. And that was the first time he had read any of it. So he went in and made some editing and like a few things. And I want to say he had like 10 things in it. I ended up writing 70 more pages. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to be done. I'm always going to want to share more. So at that point, like I just said, okay, this is complete. And I will just continue to share because we're never going to stop learning. I'm never going to stop learning. I will always be a student in this life. And I am glad that I can share this portion of it, but I know it's not everything. It's not the end all be all, but the process of writing it was such an amazing journey. It was such an amazing journey.
I can imagine, and having that opportunity to continue to reflect, like you said, on the experiences and honor the things that took place, because oftentimes the difficulty is we feel like we need to criticize and kind of pick apart the things that happened in our lives and the experiences, and and really breeze past the celebration moments, those moments where we did some pretty bomb things, where it's like we get to celebrate it and we get to be able to acknowledge how the gifting that we have actually hit the ground running, right? It actually came to life. And that in itself, I think, is something really, really powerful and potent that we oftentimes don't get a chance to acknowledge. People outside of us see it when they witness it, and they're like, you're so amazing and you've done some great things, right? I mean, you are a powerhouse human, and I know a lot of people sense it, feel it when they're in your presence. I know it's really difficult for us to see that in ourselves. So having the chance to really do this self-reflection, we'll say iterations over and over and over, and kind of really hearing your own experience come to life in a way that feels very real and true. I think it just gives you a moment to be like, wow, I've lived. Like, what a gift to have had this life, even the hard stuff that taught me these things, and that's where I am today. So that's at least the imagining that I have. I have not yet finished the book. That is my confession. I'm literally reading 2 other books right now. This is like a life story of mine, where I do book club every month for healthcare, and so then I'm like, I'm reading this one book, and then, oh shoot, I got to read the book for book club, and so I'm excited to finish it, though. My daughter came over the other day and saw it on the coffee table, and she's like, oh my gosh, I want to read it next. And I'm like, yes, you can. Well, I'll get you your own copy. So yeah, even just the title in itself, it's time to love the shit out of yourself, is just, I think, so incredibly, I'm going to say, the vision that's coming to me is like calling out. It's like, it's really pulling out your heart and saying, like, hey, like, you reader, let's take this journey, let's do this together. And I know obviously we're witnessing your journey in the book, but I think it's always wonderful when we can learn from other people's life experiences, get a little bit more of an understanding of your journey, build a relationship with you as the author, and glean our own wisdom from that as well, which I think is even more potent. So was there a specific moment that you can remember where you're just like, all right, I'm going to do it. Like this, I've written all these pages. I've voiced all this stuff to myself. I think I'm ready. Like, was there a moment?
It was definitely probably a culmination. I don't know if there was an exact moment where I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing. I think I'm really, if I think that I'm going to do something, I usually end up doing it, even though like along the way, I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I mean, it's so weird to even say that I'm a published author right now. And like people are actually buying the book. Like I keep looking, like every couple of days I'll go on and look at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like way more sales. I'm just like, my mind is blown. But honestly, I wrote the book that I wish that I had when I was going through these parts of my life. I wanted something that was easy to read. The book has a lot of breath in it. I'm not a reader. I love that you are, Jasmine, but I'm just not. I would love to be, but it's like, anyways, I sit down and I look at a page full of words and it's overwhelming. And so I wrote the book with a lot of breath in it. And I tried to keep the chapters short enough where that you're getting this like really emotional, vulnerable story. You're taking an opportunity to see how that kind of can show up in your life and pull in on your stories. And then what do you do with that information? I try to wrap everything up in a nice little bow in each chapter. And again, I wish I had the book that was more honest about what self-love is. And the title of the book is It's Time to Love the Shit Out of Yourself. And a lot of times, I get asked like, why that, or what does that mean? I trademarked it. I think I trademarked Love the Shit Out of Yourself maybe in 2019. I might have trademarked in 2019. So I knew it was going to be something. I just didn't know what, but, the shit part is the important part of the phrase. It's like, it's so easy to love these parts of yourself that maybe get more validation or societally validated, but these parts of us that we hide away, that we deem unacceptable or embarrassing, or we won't be loved, or we won't be good enough if people know these parts about ourselves. We all have these parts. We all have these parts, and they're not the same. They're not the same, but we all have our shit. Yeah. So bringing that a little bit more to light. Of course, there's humor in my book. It's one of my favorite defense mechanisms that I have.
Me too.
You know,
Me too. Crack a joke.
yes, yeah.
Laugh at myself. Crack a joke. That's
yeah. They're not all bad. Defense mechanisms aren't bad, right? They're tools. So I love to bring this stuff to light in a vulnerable way, but also recognizing that we don't have to identify with those parts of ourselves, but they are parts of ourselves. And it's okay that they're there. And the more that we bring love into that conversation with ourselves around those things, the better life is, the better and smoother our life can be.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I do believe that this is the gifting of getting older. I just know my 20s was all about like getting rid of all the imperfections, the things that I felt like, were my shit, like all the things that I don't want anybody else to see or know. It was either trying to eliminate them completely by pretending like they don't exist, or, kind of putting on this mask that gave the illusion that it didn't exist, or over here having this awful relationship with them, right? It's like now I'm the enemy with myself and parts of myself, which I feel like in my 30s was the word that came up immediately was purging of it. It wasn't really a purging. It was painful like a purge, but it was definitely a battle most of my 30s. Like they were parts that didn't quite figure themselves out. And then I don't know, there's something about the 40s that it's like, you know what? This is me, right? Like that song from Greatest Showman comes to mind, like, because it's just so powerful that like it's sometimes that voice, even in those lyrics, is actually from you, right? It's not always from the outside world that you're trying to prove yourself to. You're like, you need to sometimes be like, I need to prove myself to myself, like, and I need
Absolutely.
to acknowledge this part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so cool. So I understand, obviously, this book. This is going to be a loaded question because I understand this book is your life kind of open to the world. Was there a particular section part where you're just like, whoa, I'm going to say this. This is extra difficult, extra vulnerable, and it's there.
Yes, absolutely. It's like even hard to talk about out loud. I don't know if it's chapter 3 or chapter 4, but it has to do with my family, my husband, my daughter, my stepdaughter, and how completely dysregulated, disassociated, and unhinged I was. Honestly, it's like, it's such a weird timeline to like even go back and think about, because like I'm like so far away from that version of myself that was guarded. Also, I had so many of my wounds were like in the front, especially because I had just realized that they were all there. And then I had to do something with them. But because I didn't have any of the tools, I was just unhinged. I needed everybody to accept my boundaries, even though I didn't know what they were. Like I didn't, I'm just like, I would just be yelling. My fight or flight response was fight all day. So I wanted to explain myself. I wanted to be right. I also wanted to save everybody, which is insane because what do I even know at this point? And in my, actually, what do we even know ever? But like in this point in my story, I didn't know anything. And I smothered, I pushed too hard. And I think like putting that chapter out there, I didn't include my stepdaughter's name in the book because I wanted to keep her, I wanted to respect her and keep her story to her. And that's a whole nother story. The big parts of it are in the book. I think like selling the book or seeing that my family has bought the book and my friends have bought the book that didn't know that version of me. I think that's where a lot of the resistance was to like actually celebrating that the book was out there. Cause you were like, you've got to do a book release party. And I was like, I don't know, maybe we just like put it on Instagram and like just see if some people buy it. And you were like, no, we got to celebrate it. And I was like, okay. So I had to come to terms with what I was afraid of. And I think you're right. It was that chapter.
Yeah, and we need that, those people around us that are going to be like, I get it. You're afraid. And we're going to do it anyway, right? It's like we're almost inviting the courage to come forth because it's there, right? You already had the courage to create the book. So that took a lot of pre-work to even before you've got those pages in between that book fold. It's like it is now just another level of courage that you have to face to acknowledge that the people that know you in this season of your life are going to meet a version of you from the past. And for sure, that's difficult. And thank you for sharing that. I hear I resonate deeply. I hear exactly where you have been in your life. Weirdly enough, we've met, 5-6 years ago now, 5 years, maybe something like that. And I didn't know the past. As we've continued to let things unfold and are getting to know each other over this last year plus now, it has been really great to acknowledge that we both have had such colored pasts. Like there's just so many layers to our experience, and we're just like, wow, here we are. And it is almost really, it feels more, that word isn't vulnerable. I don't know. It feels almost exposing, or just like, oh gosh, like this new version of me, this version of me that feels like she has really evolved way beyond this one way back there, they're kind of meeting each other. Mm-hmm. And that feels beyond uncomfortable. I feel like the alchemizing of that is actually, for me, this podcast is bringing the things forward that I kept back there in that compartment for so long that people don't even know, like stories that people don't know. And it feels really, as you mentioned earlier, healing beyond the way that you could ever imagine. You know, it's like I'm accepting that this whole version of me, not saying this part back here no longer exists, and so I deleted it. Instead, it's like it's still there. She's just alchemized into something different, you know. So really powerful, really powerful. I'm excited that you have had the support of your loved ones, and I know that it's difficult, sure, to be the first one to have that. I'm imagining you probably are one of the only ones in the family that have been like, I'm going to write a book about my life experience. And it's
yeah. It's again, like when I came to terms, because there are a lot, it's not just that one chapter. There are a lot of stories that maybe show me in a different light than a lot of people see me on social media or meet me when I'm teaching a class and I'm in like my lane of genius, you know, but I wanted to share that. I wanted to share this book and all those stories because we are a whole person. We are all those versions of ourselves. And if we're brave enough, we learn from them and we bring them with us. And we bring Coyote Ugly Cat to today, and she can still have fun the way she had fun back then, but maybe it's more integrated and aligned in the version of myself that I am now. But I still have that same fun girl, and I still have that overprotective mama bear, but she's more compassionate and realizes that there needs to be a larger container and bumpers, that I don't need to be so hands-on and forceful. And the lover in me that just loved love and fell in love hard and fast. And then all of a sudden got hurt and hurt and hurt and guarded and guarded and guarded. And that version of me gets to come back out now because it's safe. Like I get to bring her here in this relationship that I have with my husband now, which was cultivated through the fire over the past almost 18 years. Yeah. So there's been that young girl that had that big open heart that was just so in love with life, gets to come and be in this safe relationship now because we have done the work, because we showed up vulnerably, because we love the shit out of ourselves. We get to actually have all of our parts here. I love that you spoke to that. We get to have all of our parts here.
Yeah, everything is welcome. Like I do think people, it's sometimes said, becoming a little bit more cliche, but the truth is that we are really great at criticizing and trying to shut off things from our past, especially when they just didn't feel so great, or you don't want other people to know because it might feel a little bit more, create a little bit more of a feeling of imposter syndrome in your current life, and that's hard to navigate. But everyone has it, and you said this a moment ago, that acknowledging that we all are having this, even though we're having our very own unique experience, there really is there are parts that are common threads and through lines that we have to acknowledge, and that is that we're all figuring it out, and it's messy and it's mucky, and there's stuff that we're just like, oh, I can't believe I went through that, right? And we get to acknowledge the ways that we have expanded because of that, not just in spite of it, right? And so I do think that there is a really beautiful thing that happens when you guys have shared a life together through this. Is powerful and potent. I just had an episode go live on the podcast with my co-parent, and he mentioned something very specific about when, as individuals, we're always growing and we're changing. There's like a constant evolution, right? If we're living, there is this giving into life changes and things evolving with the expansion of life. And he's like, unfortunately, we're just sometimes not connected to the fact that we're all changing, and we're going to grow at our own pace, and acknowledging that we're basically rediscovering this and re-falling in love with this new version of the person that we've chosen to navigate life with. And that in itself is really cool to know that you guys you guys met in a world that was from we'll say your past life, and you're moving through things now. So you want to speak to that a little bit more, because I think that's a really potent, powerful story.
So when David and I met, we were in the service industry in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was one of the managers at a nightclub, and he was the very handsome door guy. And we fell in lust, probably. We fell in lust first, hard. And then we were almost immediately living together, which sounds insane. And then all of a sudden he went off to join the National Guard. So he went off to boot camp. So I feel like if he wouldn't have left for whatever that was, like a year or something, maybe 9 months or something like that, we might have not made it, because we might have like imploded, right? But because we had this space to like not implode on each other, we fell actually in love, because we were able to write letters. But then I feel like the next 10 years were almost on autopilot. Like we were just in very similar patterns and loops when I look back at it. And it's like a blur. It's like a blur. And then we had this beautiful baby who is 9 now, alongside, raising David's daughter, my stepdaughter. And I had the worst postpartum depression. I remember when I was pregnant telling him, you're going to have to tell me something's wrong because I won't know. And I think like we had just trauma bonded so much over the last, those previous 10 years that he, at the time, that he's a way different person, but at the time he didn't have the language, maybe even the courage to tell me that something was wrong. And it's not like I wanted to, hurt David or Delaney or my stepdaughter. But I definitely did not like myself at all. Like there was a lot of, suicide contemplation. There was just a lot of like cutting myself off and disassociating. There was a lot of drinking. I didn't know how to quite get out of it. And I don't, maybe they probably put me on some medicine, which made me feel crazy. I feel like that happened. And so that was just like this complete and utter chaos. And then all of a sudden we did something together. Maybe it was like listen to a podcast or something, and something clicked in my brain. It was like, your brain is lying to you. Your body knows the truth. Your brain is lying to you. So then I went down this huge rabbit hole of that and started to like convince myself. I was like, you love yourself. Even though I thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever, but I would just, I'll be look in the mirror and I was like, you love yourself. And I did, again, I'm so sneaky. I did all this in secret. So he had no idea again what was going on. He's just like carrying me around with these baby bumpers, trying to not let me, die. In the book, there is a chapter on a ceremony that David and I decided to have, which I ultimately thought was going to be this just silly, fun party thing. I will not lie. I did not go into it with this intention of changing my whole entire life and world. And when we did that, it was like something, I was shown this part of myself that was completely a lie, something I believed in like with my whole heart. It formed my decision making on almost every relationship, not almost, formed my decision making on every relationship I had in my life. So when I realized that wasn't true, I like, that's when the ultimate unhinged chaos happened, because I didn't have any ground to stand on anymore. So how in the hell did this guy not leave me? I still have no idea. So he hung on for dear life to this tornado that was happening. And I can remember, because, I would be so passionate about this new belief change, whatever I was talking about in the moment. I'd be so passionate about it. I'd be standing out here on this back porch and I'd be like, I don't care if you don't believe in this. I'm going into this new life with or without you. And he was like, I'm coming. I just don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going. And so he loved me. He loved me so much. It was like God or the universe sent this man to me because he wasn't going to walk away. And my wound was abandonment. So no matter how hard I was like, get out of here. You don't love me. I don't love you. Like whatever I could throw at the man, he was like, okay, you'll calm down and then it'll be okay.
I love that.
And then he came with me. He went and he got his yoga teacher certification just so he could understand more. He doesn't teach, but he's certified. He started doing deep study on spirituality, mindfulness. He went down so many different rabbit holes of different teachings and religions, and just really got more language so that we could communicate better with one another. And now it's like, I mean, it's so funny when we get into an argument, because it's like, it's just, which back in the day it was like, I mean, things were breaking, we were yelling, we were going to be divorced over something stupid like leaving the lid off the toothpaste. And now it's just, like these deep arguments that we have now are just like conversations. I mean, people from the outside probably couldn't even tell that we're disagreeing. And it's, so I guess, I don't know how I like went around a very long story, but
so good.
my relationship with him, I'll tell you the best thing that I have ever done is allow him to see every part of myself and him not leave. So it's really given me trust in that it's okay to be myself in all facets, which makes me feel safe which makes me feel more regulated, which makes my life easier. So what I was doing before with him was masking, hiding, people pleasing. And then I would just freaking explode because I had been putting on all these costumes for like years. And then I didn't know who I was anymore. I was like completely lost. So thank God he held on through I would say it was probably a good 4-year range where it was just like, what? And then the poor man let me throw those festivals, which was insane as well. I mean, there's so much. He is wonderful. I am extremely grateful. Our lives have really taken a turn in a direction that I could have not imagined. I could not have imagined having this type of relationship with my partner. I don't think ever. I think actually, let's go back to like when I was like this dreamy little girl. I think the relationship I have with him now is what I used to dream about. And I didn't have to I didn't have to give up on him or get rid of him to find it, which is still insane to me.
Yeah.
So insane.
I mean, you didn't have the language, I'm sure, yourself to even express what that type of you wanted that
No
kind of
way.
love, but we didn't know that love really was, right? It was like
Yeah.
that dreamy thing over there. Like we didn't know that it actually means like conflict, but conflict
Yeah.
in a loving way, right? Like I was
Yeah.
just in a conversation with someone yesterday about I love the Gottman's work, and they talk a lot about the most healed, loving, deep, long, sustainable relationships are those that have real conflict. It's healthy conflict. It's not people that are avoiding conflict and never fight and that just have this, powerful love that just keeps them happy all the time. That's not love. Love is actually getting to this place where you're able to, like you said, be your whole self, and you're acknowledging that this other person that you're doing life with doesn't have to be you. They're on their own journey, but you love and honor each other. And still, there's differences. And you're still like, we're going to continue to learn each other as we're growing. And those skills, I think that you guys have built, it sounds like these are the kinds of skills that create long-lasting, sustainable love. Like it creates a lasting partnership, not the experience, like you said at the beginning, of like, this grand gesture of we're so in love, we're going to move in together, and it feels so lustful and so exciting and all that fiery stuff. This is where the real lasting love happens in this time in life. So I think that's wonderful, and I'm really just love hearing the story from beginning to end in this way. So I am really excited to finish the book because I really want to continue to learn like how it all comes together for you and the experience. Because yes, your festival's magnificent. Can we just pause for a moment and acknowledge how incredible your festival? So we're talking about a festival called Soul Harmony Fest here in Concord, North Carolina, and Kat and I were birthing festival babies around the same time. They have its own challenges, but what's really beautiful is like it left a mark on your community. Like it leaves a lasting mark in your community that people are like believing so fondly of that whatever they found in that refuge of that weekend together. And so I know it takes a lot, y'all. If y'all don't know this, it takes so much out of event curators to pull together the people, the resources, just the inner wherewithal and bandwidth to bring to life a gathering of any size, but add a few hundred people into that that type of event over the course of hours and days. It is beyond a labor of love. It is beyond that, because it can absolutely take so much from us. And even though it does, it brings such a gift to the community that you kind of sit back and you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Like, but then you're like, yeah, I remember that it happened because my nervous system remember. This is where the resources, the tools that we've learned over these years get put into practice. But I don't know about you, Kat, but like there were times where I'm like, what the hell is happening? Why am I doing this to myself? And so there's always that recall of like, all right, how can I make sure I'm honoring myself more in this process? And people, the right spaces, that is where it happens. But yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you sharing that you guys, went through this time and that he was along for the ride. And you said like he was just holding on during the tornado. It's like,
Yeah.
are we almost there? Is it almost gone? 4 years is a long time. So
Yeah.
cool.
He definitely took a big exhale when I was like, I think I'm done with this type of event throwing. He was just like, well, thank God, because he was like, if anybody ever came to our festivals, David was the one that was building everything, moving everything, pulling people out of the mud when we got hit by that hurricane. Like he was such a grounding presence every time, but definitely both of our nervous systems afterwards were always shot. So when I told him, I was like, I think I'm done for now. Not maybe done with events altogether, but done with that style of event for now. And he was just like, yeah, our relationship got even stronger.
I bet, because it takes so much courage and I will say emotional awareness and steadiness to make a choice that goes against everyone else's thoughts. Everyone else in the community is like, but why? But why? But when? But come on. But and it's like, well, at this moment, I'm going to choose me. That's huge. That is, I think, an expression of self-love that goes so much further than just the buzzword. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what does that word mean for you when you say that was defining self-love, that such a can be so many things for people that are just reading Instagram posts or whatever. So what's that definition for you?
Oh my gosh, so many things. But I think where I'm at right now, the self love that I am like deepening right now is becoming aware of the lessons that I'm currently working on, and loving the version of me that is still reaching for those maybe outdated tools, outdated patterns, and loving the version of me that wants to disassociate when she's uncomfortable, because it's softening the edge and it allows me to pull out of it a lot faster. So I am in no way done and know everything about self-love. PS, just because I wrote a book on it, just putting that out there. I do not know everything. Understanding that I cannot bully myself to a better life has been a really big tool for me, because I grew up as a competitive dancer. So it was like you're going to bleed and you're going to do it. Your feet are going to be tattered and your hamstrings are going to rip, and you're going to do the dance even if you have the flu or mono. Like, it was just like, let's go. It was like, I mean, what I'm assuming, because I'm not in the military, but what I'm assuming David went through in boot camp, unprogramming, a lifetime of that belief, and paired with people pleasing. I will push through anything just so you will love me, was a really wonderful combo that I gifted myself. So when I catch myself in a place where I used to say I should know better, when I catch myself there, I use my tools that I have now, which are I don't love to say like nervous system regulation, but really it's nervous system awareness for me, because my nervous system is telling me something. I don't need to fix it. I'm like, hey girl, look at you all tensed up in the jaw. What's going on? Why are we scrolling on the phone with the tense jaw? Why don't we go out and water the plants? And I try to talk to myself and love on myself in ways that are kind but real, kind but honest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
think
so
that's what
cool.
self love is for me right now.
Yeah. I appreciate so many layers of what you just expressed, and especially this idea that similar experiences, right? It's like the only way through is the hardest way, the most stringent, path for yourself, like how I get a motivation culture my way through all of it, right? I lived and breathed motivation culture, and I don't think it's a bad thing for people to meet it if you found yourself in a place where you couldn't get out of it, right? You couldn't get out of
Right.
your own head. Sometimes you do need that reprogramming just of the thoughts that are there, and those imaginings that things are not what they are. So just kind of getting yourself out of that moment is necessary. I'd like that pattern reset, or like a pattern interruption, like Tony Robbins says, right? Like, gotta just you just got to do it. I mean, that can serve us in a certain season of our lives, but as you said, like at some point we meet that stage where we're just like I can't. I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. I've been pushing and forcing and people pleasing my whole life, and now I'm done. And so it feels really, I will say, encouraging in a way that I didn't ever really, I've never even heard it reframed in the way that you just did, which is the nervous system awareness over regulation. I appreciate that perspective a lot because, or that reframe, because for sure that conversation with yourself, as you were just expressing it, is that it reminds me of one of my teachers. She wrote this book called Befriending the Self. And that book brought up so much like of a different reframe and way to interact with myself that was that of a loving friend, right? Like someone who actually, like, what would your friend say to you when you were would they force you to get up and, do the thing? Would be that who they would crack a whip on you? Like, that's not the way that a loving friend would treat you. So why wouldn't you want to treat yourself in that same manner? And having conversations with yourself is such a really, even just in that micro moment, internal dialogue can do so much good. It's easy for us to do the opposite, where we can talk ourselves to a negative spiral or some, kind of downward emotion, but instead just like, hey, what's going on? You notice that about yourself? Do you notice that that's happening right now? Like, that just feels really, I think that feels really good to hear you say nervous system awareness over regulation, because the fixing can also become an obsession. I have witnessed it.
Oh, for sure. And there's like such a like punishment. Yeah. Like there's such punishment behind it. And again, all this stuff is from my perspective, but like what my belief is, like when we start to go, a lot of people have this around like diet culture, like, oh, if I eat healthy, I will feel better. Well, you do for a little while and then you stop. So why do you stop? Because you have convinced yourself there's something wrong with you and you bully yourself into eating a certain way instead of being like, I want to eat healthy because I want to feel good, not because, because there's something wrong with the way that I'm currently eating. Like the thoughts are the same, but the focus is different, right? So when we store something as a negative habit in our body, or like a bully, right? We're like, don't do that, idiot, like that kind of behavior or mentality. It gets stored as a negative habit. And I'm sure there's like maybe more sciencey ways to say this, but this is the way that I understand it. So then our body rejects it. It's like, I don't like this, but I love cupcakes, right, and I
don't want to be controlled. Cookies. I don't want to be bullied. Like, yeah, it can work for a little while, but at some point you're like, let me out. Like,
yeah. Like, so instead, setting that stuff from this place of honest compassion for yourself. And it's just a reframe in the mind. And it also has to do with the body, but that's like a whole nother side of it. But, again, you can't bully yourself to a better life. You can bully yourself to a better period of life, but it's not sustainable because of the way of the approach, right? We need to approach it from a way in where our nervous system feels safe to hold on to the new pattern as safe. Does that make sense?
It does. It definitely does. Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, our nervous systems it's going to be very unfamiliar at the beginning. You're like, we need to go back to the bullying because that felt normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
We're calibrated to that, I think that phrasing, calibration, recalibrating has been my theme over the last couple of years, because it is exactly that. It's like, we're at this new place, Jasmine, like we got to let ourselves recalibrate. We got to adjust to this new place, and it's going to feel weird for a while. Some days it'll feel great. Other days it's going to feel really foreign and uncomfortable. And it's all just the process of recalibration and letting yourself kind of arrive in this new place and acknowledge that it's going to feel new in all its ways. And it takes time for us to be okay in that new place. And I think I've also been ironically more frustrated in that not feeling okay in the new place, because I come from a military family and moving a ton in my life, right? So over like now, I don't know, maybe 26 moves now or something like that. A lot of moves in my life and a lot of new places, not only people. And so like, it's always like, turn it on and get there and figure out how you're going to make it work, how you're going to do life in this new place and do it quickly, because it's going to be gone soon anyway. So you got to do it quick. And so that the accepting literally the arrival as something as a slowing down in a process is always been a really hard thing for me. Like I want to just get me there, let me get dialed in, and and I'm going to unplug as quickly as I arrive there, because I'm over there adjusting to the new thing. trying to, force that to happen quick too. And so it's been a weird thing to be patient and let yourself like, hey, like it's okay. You can, you can slow down in this moment. You don't have to force the bully yourself into feeling okay in this new place, in this new season. Yeah, that's a whole
Man.
conversation. The bullying yourself is,
Yeah.
yeah. I also like the languaging there too, because it really does create the look. I don't like to be bullied. I don't want to be bullied into this new habits that other people are saying are good for me, but I've clearly accepted that as I'm embodying it as bullying myself, and that.
Yeah, it's not that the things that we're trying aren't good for us. Like my cold plunge out here, like looking at it, it's like looking at me. I know that it's good for me, but when I force myself to do it, I don't feel better. But when I'm like, oh, I'm excited to do it, it's the exact same thing, but like how my nervous system feels about it, I guess is what it's we can say it's our mindset, but really it's our whole freaking being. Like how do I feel about going into this? And becoming aware of how your body is in all situations and starting to have these compassionate conversations with it and stop forcing it and just invite it or listen to it. The conversations is one of the things that I talk about a lot in my classes and workshops is so important. And you might not even know what the hell your body's saying. You're like, what the hell? My body doesn't say anything to me. And maybe it doesn't right now, but eventually you stay curious, you stay present with yourself in the uncomfortable moments, you start to notice what the body is saying to you and you stop bullying it because it's like, hey, just pause first. I'm not saying no forever. I'm saying no, just calm down for a second. Let's just rest for a second. Let's just be for a second. Let's just calibrate for a second. Maybe we don't push forward through this festival. Maybe we cancel it after the hurricane happens or, whatever. But
Listen, does take so much practice
oh,
to
for sure.
continue. Yeah, like it's not, and just to reassure the listeners this too, like it's not like, okay, like now you've made this decision, so now you're always gonna let yourself pause and rest. Like, no, you sometimes
No,
need to be called out. Like, we all need those people in our community that are going to be like, hey, are you sure? How are you feeling about it for real? Like, let's be
for
honest with
real.
ourselves. We need the people that are going to hold us accountable to what we have said we've desired or expressed in our habits and communication with others, and like even nonverbal communication. Sometimes it's just the things that we're not as excited when we show up. We're just a little bit off, and those people in our lives that can sense that and ask us to be real and honest with ourselves is sometimes even more powerful. And this cool thing about you having a partner that has we'll say expanded with you in a way and continues to understand the importance of co-processing and will hopefully start to be more of a support. Not saying just your partner, but for other people, as that happens when their relationship, they start to become more of a person of accountability that says, hey, like, are you? And not all from a place of love, but being able to ask honest questions, because it's so easy for people to just do what they've been conditioned to do as well. Like, oh, it's okay, you'll be fine, eventually you'll feel better, and then we can do it again. Just kind of coax you through the moment rather than asking you the hard questions that you need to hear, which is a difficult thing for all of us to receive those questions.
To receive. I was going to say it might not be difficult for us to say, but it might be difficult for us to receive. And honestly, the more that I've done this work with myself and with my husband, it is leaking out into my friendships, my other relationships, and it doesn't always go smoothly. Some people are not ready to have those types of conversations, so I'm learning how to calibrate in that aspect of my life. But some are and I am. I'm like, when I tell my friends, I'm like, please, like if you see me trying to plan another freaking event before I do this launch, like just give me a little bop on the head. Go, Kat, you don't have to do that. You don't have to create 75 events in a month. You can just be and enjoy your life instead of constantly throwing parties. But and then that same thing. So being able to have relationships like that really has constantly helped me continue to be curious and grow within my relationship with myself. So it is so nice to have people on the same page. But in the beginning of this journey, it was me inside of my head. So I was doing a lot of this work alone. I was afraid to say it out loud. And I don't recommend that. I recommend finding safe people, or a safe community, or a podcast to remind you that you are not alone. And then eventually, when your defenses start to soften and your love for yourself starts to blossom, the people show up. You don't have to force the relationships. They're there. And believe it or not, some of them are already there, like my husband.
Right.
I was like, you don't love me at all.
He's like, all right, I'll be right
Yeah,
here
I didn't
waiting
love
while you figure out
myself,
that I
you
love
know.
you.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. It was me not loving me, you know.
Yes. You said so many things just then, I think is so supportive, and for other people to hear too, that in this time we're we are going to need to be waiting for that moment where we feel like we are open enough to be in community with others and to be supported. You mentioned, you said the word safe environments, and I feel like that sometimes can be a little bit like, oh well, is it safe? It feels like this external judgment of the space, and it's less about like what that environment per se has to the word is give this sense or this impression of safety with things, but rather how you're feeling in your own body
Oh, for
because of
sure.
how those people show up. So less about, the environment and, are there people that, things around that don't feel safe or whatever, things like that, but more about how you're actually experiencing yourself in those environments, and where, to Kat's phrasing earlier, where you can still be in that place of nervous system awareness while you're in that space, and you're supported in the process and encouraged to be more aware rather than kind of putting on that mask or a show, which is so easy. Like, and this is you and I have this shared background in this, you're a performer by nature. I have always been in we'll say performer adjacent, and lots of, I had a pageantry background. It's a whole other story in my
Ooh.
life. Yeah. Thought I was, all the things. Anyway, it changes the way that you behave sometimes in communities until you start to let it shift and adjust, right? Until you let the experience change. If I'm uncomfortable, and I think that you maybe shared this in conversation with me before, the show Jasmine shows up. The performer Jasmine shows up. Like, let's go. Where's everybody? Hey, how's it going? Them cracking jokes and doing the, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happens almost automatically if I'm uncomfortable. It's just the mask comes on, and I can't always easily see it until I'm like, that's the tummy's feeling the thing, and that's what's happening right now. And and so it does really change things when you have safe people, safe environments or experiences. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, I'm going to be honest, like, I have always, people who've been on this podcast know I've struggled with like women only circles and things like that. It just has never been a good environment for me. There's lots of layers to that. But the main thing is I've acknowledged that me finding a couple of safe women, people that I feel like I can build relationship with and be in community with, has been incredibly healing for me. Some of them have been there for a season. Some are still in my life and have, continued to outlast. And, me and my bestie Scott, he's been with me for a long, long time. And he's like this person that, like, no matter whatever's happening, whatever, I'm always going to be able to come with my normal self and not put on a show. And I'd be like, this is happening. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And, like, this is, it's like, oh, that sounds exciting. I don't know. I mean, it sounds cool, but I feel whatever I'm feeling about it. I can be very real and raw. And that feels incredibly, I think, life changing and supportive in a way that, like, when you find that person or those couple of people, it can start to really open up this layer of loving yourself because you feel loved and cared for by the people in your circle. So yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah. It absolutely amplifies it for sure. But I feel like, and again, I feel like this is in the book, but sometimes I just talk about things in life. So I hope this is in the book, but if it's not, it'll live on this podcast.
It'll be on the next book.
Yeah. Safety, like our safety, it starts inside of us. Like that's where we work on it first. And once we find that safety there, then that's where we get to to draw it from when we are in other situations. So when you were talking about like stepping into show Jasmine, I definitely have that version of myself and I love her. She's so fun, but she's not bad, right? She is a tool that has helped me to survive some really tough situations. So when she's there, it's not that I don't fully feel safe. It's like something has gotten activated in my nervous system and she decided to go, I'm up. It's my turn. I'm up. And she's running the show until I can realize and recognize what you were talking about, the tummy. So for me, I will, my buns will be clenched. I'm like, I don't feel safe. So my butt's like, whoa, and my jaw. So, you know, when I feel that, I get to use whatever tools or I just get to stay there and go, okay, am I actually safe? Is something going? You know, I trust that my nervous system knows something, but is it an old story or is it something happening in that moment? And sometimes it can be both, right? It can be a pattern showing up for me, but definitely, you know, it's so nice to have the community. It's so nice to have the partner and the relationship that I have with my daughter. It's so beautiful, but it wasn't always there because I didn't have it with myself. So it has to start with yourself. So when you start, if you haven't already dove into this self-love journey, like it has to start feeling safe with yourself. And maybe that's just when you're by yourself and that's where you start, and you still put on your show when you're out in public, but start somewhere, because that is not sustainable. If the cracks haven't already started showing, they will show, and it leads to imbalances and disease and mental, you know, just take all that shit off, at least while you're by yourself at home, and just, you know, get weird in the mirror and say that you love yourself until you believe it.
Yeah. I was actually the next question I was going to ask you is like, how do you help somebody or invite somebody to rebuild this sense of self-trust after they've spent a lot of time in life ignoring themselves in the story, right? And their
Oof.
own needs. What would you invite them to?
Okay, number one, you can't help anybody that isn't ready. There's no forcing, there's no convincing that will ever, ever, ever work. It will not work until they are ready. Ask me how I know. Don't do that.
I know.
Don't do that. It might push them further away. Unfortunately, you know, maybe you can drop some hints, but the forcing, it's not there. So how do I convince somebody that is ready? I convince them to be unbelievably and unapologetically honest with themselves. I have 4 steps in the Love the Shit Out of Yourself program, which I've ran a couple of times through my website. And I'll give them to you real brief, but they are in the book. The first step is awareness, because if you're not willing to look at your shit, I mean, what are we even doing? If you're not willing to look at it, it's there. It's stinky. Ooh, ooh. You got to look at it. How are you going to clean it up? Or, you know, how are you going to address the situation if you're not willing to look at the pile of shit? So sometimes you might feel like it's a huge, huge, huge pile of shit and you just need to look at a little bit of it at a time, but that's for another story. The second pillar, the second step in the process is forgiveness. And this is a really deep rabbit hole to go down, because it can be so painful to think that you have to forgive somebody. But really, the forgiveness that's the most important is the forgiveness of yourself for allowing yourself to be in the situation, for allowing the pattern to repeat. Anyways, so forgiveness is number 2. And then the third one, which is my most favorite, is movement. Like, what do you do with the stored energy that never got processed, right? The thing that is bubbling up to the surface that you didn't allow to process when you were 2 years old is coming out now, and it's rage, right? So what do you do with that? You move it. And that can look like anything. Yes, I'm going to say dance because that's what I love. But my God, there are so many ways to move your body. Just move. Just go move. We just walked up to the gas station a second ago. My daughter's taking her end of year test. And after each section, we're going to move, whatever it is. And she's got little pieces of paper and she draws it out. Oh, we're going to the gas station to get a treat. So we walk up there and we move that stress energy, and she comes back and she's fresh. Yeah. And then we'll go out to the swing after this next one, and we'll swing and we'll move that energy, and then we'll get sidewalk chalk. So literally anything. So movement is number 3. And then the last one is communication. So that can be communicating with yourself, your new boundaries, your new awarenesses, or communication with others. Like, this is how I feel about this activation that happened to me, or this is what I'd like to do moving forward. And literally this can go for any situation. Such a vague offering of loving the shit out of myself process, but awareness, forgiveness, movement, and communication are the things that I move through on a daily basis.
Those are powerful. You and I had similar processes. I think that, there is lots of ways for people to present tools and resources, but I think
For sure.
foundationally you cover all of them in your steps there. Like the foundation is there, and there's, I will say, lots of spaciousness and capacity for it to be what you need it to be in the different seasons of life. I've acknowledged that over these last few years, that my relationship with movement has changed. My relationship with presence and awareness has changed. Like it has changed shapes and become something different in its outward expression, but it soaks deeper for me for what I need in this season, right? It's like back then, the hot yoga, I used to do duathlons and stuff like that. That was a cool thing to do, but it was back then. That's what I needed. I don't really feel at all called to. Someone asked me the other day, "Do you run?" No, I don't run. I'm like, I will not run. I used to run, don't want to run again. And that's just a different relationship that I have with my body, and I have my own reasons for making this exploration into other things, and have found that actually these other things at this moment feel more nourishing to me. And I think the awareness is the catalyst to that. You have to, allow yourself to be present with what's there and recognize that actually when I do this thing that I used to do back then, I just don't feel as good anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's helpful.
It's so brave. Oh, it's so brave to meet yourself. Like, so brave to meet the new versions of yourself as you are, instead of the projection that you think you should be. Like, I just want to say that, like, the evolution of yourself, I don't think it ever is going to stop. So, like, constantly being aware that you are this new version, and loving that version of yourself. It's so brave. It's so brave.
I know. And it's hard. I know it's hard for us to accept and release new identities. Like when we have clung, is clung a word? Clinged? I don't know. I'm like, is it the word clung or cling? Like, when you've been connected,
I like both.
Attached to an identity for so long, it can feel almost like you're losing the part of yourself. I know there's grief in that. Like, there's a tremendous amount of grief, and grief is a whole other big topic that gets to be talked about and mentioned, because there is grief in that evolution and releasing these past versions of ways that you've expressed yourself and that you've allowed, life to move through you. At the same time, you also get to identify that there is something fresh and new coming in. And this is so real. Like, my mother has been she's been a fitness forever, like since I can remember. Like, I very literally, earliest memories of my life are me in a car seat watching her do her fitness classes when she used to teach in the Navy. She was a civilian instructor for the Navy and taught fitness and PT, and she's always been into that. And life is shifting and evolving for her, and mobility is changing, and it feels so difficult, because for her every day it's like, I got to do my fitness, I got to wake up and I got to do this workout, and it's like, it has looked one way for so long, and there's a lot of grief in the process for her, losing that sense of connection to what felt nourishing at that time. And now I've been really working with her to invite her to this newness. Like, what's there now? Like, I know you're not able to explore the same things that you did before, but here we are in this season, and there's so much more, and there's stuff that she does enjoy, and continue to lean into that, and allow yourself to be excited and curious about that new season, and not necessarily feel it like it's forced. Because sometimes that's the thing. It's like, I'm going to still do it. And we go back to that same thing we talked about before. Instead, it needs to remain in that place of curiosity, and let that be the new excitement for that season. So, yeah. Look at those birds out there. The bird said yes.
Yeah, the rain has finally stopped.
Yeah, it was pouring out here too. Okay, so what do you hope that readers experience when they finish this book?
When they finish the book, I hope that they have met deeper parts of themselves that they've maybe have avoided, and are able to love parts of their story in their life, so that they can move flowier in their current life. Actually, I hope that they can be present, fully present in the version of themselves that they are now, and love that version of themselves, but by witnessing and loving the versions that they have been. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. I appreciate you for just the heart in this and taking your story and alchemizing it into something that I know can impact everyone in all stages of life. That's the truth, because it doesn't matter if we're, just figuring out our high school life, or, we're deep into our 20s and trying to figure out professional lives, or we're in a marriage or kids, right? It's like every season is an opportunity for us to meet ourselves where we are and start to build on this foundation of these principles that you shared, and acknowledge that, just like I shared, that evolution, like for people like my mother, it's like you've gone through these different stages. Every stage you're going to need to meet this new version of you.
Yep.
So I think this kind of book is a timeless read. I love books like that, by the way. So like those books that can stay on the shelf. You're just like, let me go back to that book and look at what her steps were. Let me make sure I understood. And sometimes we just need a moment of reflection and reminders that we are not alone.
Honestly, that was one of the big reasons that I wrote the book, because I had felt alone in where I was in my life, and honestly, I'd isolated myself there. It wasn't like people didn't love me. I was surrounded by beautiful people, but I had isolated myself there because of these beliefs. So if that book can remind people that they are not alone, and to open themselves back up to being loved by themselves and others, that's like a huge win for me. Huge win for my heart.
Kat, it's been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for just being willing to open up this we're going to say vault of Kat world in the book, bringing it to life in the book, and also being willing to talk about it. I know that this is just another layer of like, yeah, I wrote the book. Oh gosh. Oh, you're reading it. Oh gosh. Like, oh, you want me to express more about it? Like, these are just, stages of that unfolding, and it's really beautiful to witness. So I'm grateful to be alongside you in this journey.
Well, thank you so much for all the things that you do in my life. But this was such a pleasure, and I feel like we always talk like this. So it's really nice that we get to share it. Yeah, it's nice that we get to share it.
I have some random episodes. I say random because it was literally my brother and I were like, it would be fun if we just loaded this on the podcast. Because we do the same thing. I'm grateful that I have the opportunities to build relationships with people like you, and co-process and like have real, like, God, this is what's happening right now, and I don't know why I'm feeling this way, or like, here's something really exciting, and yay, we can have those real conversations and not stay on the pleasantries of life, which I feel like I've spent so long. My corporate healthcare career is it's long, first of all, since I was 14, but also it's quite colored in my experiences. But I've been in leadership for so long that there is this like rah nature about it, like you're the one who's bringing all the energy and whatever, like, and so it feels really nice to just be like, I feel like crap today. Like I couldn't do that before, I'm looking at the timer, it says 1:11. So there we go. There's our confirmation on that one. So it's a joy. So I always do a sign off question when I remember. It's one of my favorite things to ask. I feel like you have shared so much that I could imagine so many parts of what you shared today being the answer to the sign off question, but I want to ask it anyway. Maybe one jumps out to you more. It's if you could amplify one message to the world, what would it be?
Don't wait another minute. Just stop. Don't wait another minute. Stop hating yourself. Stop judging yourself. Stop second guessing yourself. Stop doubting yourself, and just start to see what would happen if you just loved yourself a little bit more. I mean, and then I would invite you to love the shit out of yourself after that.
Joy. It was such a joy. Thank you so much, Kat, for your time. Everyone, if you check out the description box or wherever this podcast has information, you will find links to get connected to Kat and to buy the book. It's time to love the shit out of yourself. I'm going to finish my copy, and maybe we can have a conversation In the future, answer questions, talk about it. It's always fun to I'm a big book club person. I love dialoguing about books. And so if there's ever a moment that you guys are listening to the book and you're just like, hey, this jumped out to me, come back to this video, put it in the comments, and maybe it's something that we can speak to in the future and chat about. So Kat, thank you so much for the honor of your time and energy.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. This has been such a blessing. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoy the book, and I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Yay. Thank you guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye, Kat.
Bye.